All right, that would be good if I can add myself to the screen. What up, what up, what up? How's everybody doing this morning? This is Khalid Nathan Aleem, the real estate bull. And today we're going to start this series on how to buy a home. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I actually have a book. It's the complete guide to how to buy a home. And if you're on Facebook or you're on Instagram, if you comment book, then you'll get the book. If not, then just hit me in the DMs. Okay. But today we're talking about the first chapter. And the first chapter is how to choose the best real estate agent. So that's what we're going to get in today. We're going to do this every day for about a week or two until we get through the whole book. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen here with my folks who are on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. All right. So there we go. So how to choose the best agent. Really fast, if you only have 5 minutes, what you need to do is you need to pick somebody who's knowledgeable, experienced, and caring. Okay? Those are the three things that you're looking for. You're looking for a agent that's knowledgeable, experienced, and caring. All right, let's move on to the next one. I didn't mean to do that. All right, there we go. Okay, so here's the agenda. We're going to go through the introduction, uh, why home buyers need a real estate agent. We'll talk about that. And we'll also talk about technology in home buying, the value of a buyer's agent, uh, more access to a real estate market, negotiation skills, contractual experience, cost effective, how to choose the best agent, and we'll have a question and answer after that. So it's not going to be super long, it's going to be very short. So the introduction, okay, how real estate agents assist home buyers. Okay, number one is that agents have more access to more listings. Now I know you got Redfin, you got Zillow, you also got Realtor.com. You got a bunch of access. The home buyers of today have more access than any home buyers in history. Okay, but agents still have more access to different homes. All right. Also, as far as agents, they offer you market knowledge. You may be somebody that's relocating from one area to another. Well, having an agent gives you more. Agents have more knowledge of their particular backyard or where they're serving. All right. Also, handling negotiations and paperwork. I'm going to dive into this a little bit further once we get a little bit further into the chapter. But handling negotiations and handling paperwork. All right. Agents do this day in and day out. You can do it as a buyer. You can definitely jump in there and try to fill this paperwork out. But it is a legal contract. So with it being a legal contract, what that means is that one screw up could cost you years and years and years of pain. Now let's talk about the importance of using a real estate agent. Navigating today's competitive market. Right now is super competitive. There's a little bit of homes out there, but you have a bunch of people who are trying to buy. And we see this because of COVID. COVID kind of stirred the bee's nest up as far as people buying homes. So this is what we're seeing. It's like everybody wants to buy a home now, but there's not a lot of homes out there. So having an agent definitely behooves you in this competitive market. As we already had mentioned, ensuring proper documentation is complete. This is a legal contract. So, with this being a legal contract between you and somebody else, if something goes wrong, then guess what? You are left holding the bag. But if you have an agent, this is something that they do day in and day out. Also, professional negotiation strategies. There is levels to this. There's definitely levels to buying a home and negotiating with the seller or negotiating with the buyer. There's definitely levels to this. All right. So let's keep it pushing. Why home buyers need a real estate agent. Okay. And needing meaning, do you have to have one? No. But do you need one? Yes. Okay. Why is that? As we have mentioned, access to more listings. Real estate agents have access to listings that you may not find on your own. How is that? Because you may be sitting there, but like, oh, I have access to Zillow, I have access to Redfin, I have access to Realtor.com. That's great. But where does that information come from? That information comes from the MLS. And real estate agents have access to the MLS. They also have access to other agents. So, being in this field, you know other agents. So, I know other agents, and they may have a pocket listing, meaning what? It's something that's coming on the market, or they may know somebody that's looking to sell a home, but they don't want to put it on the market for whatever reason. And you knowing them as an agent, now you have access. That home is not on Zillow. That home is not on Redfin. That home is not on Realtor.com. So a real estate agent is going to have more access to more listings, and also they're talking to people in the field. So they may have their own pocket listing. So agents have access to more listings. Also, market knowledge. Agents understand the local market and can provide insights on pricing and trends. So, for example, my backyard or my market is Philadelphia. I know Philadelphia right now, even though it seems like it's high to people who've been in Philadelphia, I know the market as a whole is undervalued. It's undervalued. The Philadelphia market as a whole is undervalued, and prices are going to continue to go up. So if somebody has lived here in Philadelphia, they have a 9 to 5, they're not concentrating on the real estate market, they may look at it and be like, oh man, prices keep going up, it's overvalued, it's going to go down. I'm here to tell you that my opinion is that it's not going to go down. It's going to continue to go up. So I can advise my client that it may be somebody who's on the fence. And I'm here to tell them, hey, listen, I know you don't like the price, but if you don't get in now, it's just going to be more expensive next year. And also with Philadelphia, um, they're looking to expand. And you're going to have more people coming down from New York. You'll have more people coming up from Washington, D.C. or the D.C. metro area. So that means that you need to get in now. If you're looking to buy a home, you need to get in now. Now, again, if you're on Facebook, if you're seeing this on Facebook, or if you're seeing this on Instagram, all this information is coming from my complete guide to how to buy a home. If you want to get this home, I need you to comment book. I need you to comment book in the chat. So, or in the comments, comment book in the comments, and I'll send you that. I'll send you a complete guide, the complete guide to how to buy a home. All right. So again, why home buyers need real estate agents. Number 3 is handling negotiations and paperwork. Agents handle the complicated aspects of negotiations and ensure all paperwork is completed correctly. And I want to emphasize this because you can go down a rabbit hole of YouTube University. You can go on YouTube University and you can find, okay, how to buy a home. But real estate is super local. Real estate is super local. So if this is not what you do, then there are going to be a lot of pitfalls. A lot of pitfalls that you won't have the time to look into, nor do you have the experience with it. So that's why you should definitely use an agent, okay? Also, technology in home buying. The technology is changing. The technology for buying a home is constantly changing. You have websites, as I mentioned, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. And these platforms make it easy for home buyers to start their home search online, start their home searches. So that's what we got to be super clear about. Start your home search. But here's a gem. People are starting their home searches, but they haven't even gotten pre-approved yet. That's like going to the store and not knowing how much money you actually have in your wallet. So how do you know what to buy? You can be walking through $400,000 homes, but you can only afford $200,000 homes. Or vice versa. You can be walking in $100,000 homes, but you really could afford a $600,000 home. Now, yes, I'm exaggerating. I'm definitely exaggerating, but I'm exaggerating to prove a point. Okay. So these Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, Trulia, they're great. They're great to start out with. Okay. But don't rely on these sites. Okay. Don't, because if you do, what's going to happen is you can get misleading information. What's one misleading information that I see all the time? One piece of information that I see is people will be on Trulia, Zillow, Realtor.com. Oh, I love this $500,000 home. It's saying on here that I can get it for, let's say, $2,000. Okay. But what it doesn't tell you is that estimated mortgage, it's assuming some things. One of the things that it's assuming is that you're putting 20% down. Most people don't put 20% down anymore. Okay. But that estimated mortgage calculator it has some factors in there, and one of the factors is that you're putting 20% down. That's why you shouldn't rely on these sites. You should definitely use them, but you should not rely on it. So again, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook and you're seeing this live and you want my book, my complete guide to buying a home, comment book in the chat. Comment book in the chat. All right, next, the value of a buyer's agent, because a lot of people don't know in a real estate process, you have a listing agent and you have a buying agent. And now there's some old school people who say, okay, well, let me just go to the listing agent. Buyer agents work for the buyer, okay? And while the listing agent works for the seller. And this helps what? This helps avoid conflict of interest. Because if you go straight to the seller's agent, what's going to happen? For the listing agent or the seller's agent, it's both the same thing. But for the listing agent, his client is the seller. If you go directly to him, you're going to be a customer. And there's a difference between a client and a customer. So you come to me or you go to the buyer's agent, or no, I'm sorry, not the listing agent. If you go to the listing agent directly and it's like, hey, I want to buy a home, or I want to buy that home that you're listing, do you think he's going to try to get you the best price? If he tries to get you the best price, that's doing what? That's cutting down his seller. So a lot of times there are situations where it works out, okay? But most of the time it's a conflict of interest. That's why you should have your own buyer agent. You just should. You should have your own buyer agent. Next is representation and negotiation. Buyer's agent represent the buyer and handle negotiations to get the best deal. They advocate for the buyer's interest. So having a agent, he's going to advocate for your interests. And again, he's been down this road. He's experienced, so he knows what's going on in the contract, what different type of negotiation tactics can be used to get you the best price. Okay, let's move on. Um, Diving a little bit deeper into a real estate agent having more access to the real estate market. Okay, real estate agents act as a full-time liaison between the buyer and the seller. Okay? So he's going back and forth. Now, what would happen if this is funny? What would happen if the buyer talked directly to the seller? What happens a lot of times when people are trying to negotiate? It gets what? It gets personal. It gets personal. And this buyer just saying how much they don't like the shades and how they don't like the carpet and how they don't like the kitchen. The kitchen is ugly. If they said that to the seller, what's going to happen? Might be an explosion. Why? Because the seller loves the property. Maybe the seller grew up in the property, or maybe they raised their family in the property, emotionally attached to the property a lot of times. So if the buyer comes in and he's like, oh man, this is ugly. I don't like this. I need to change this. They're going to be offended. And when people get offended, they get emotional. When they get emotional, a lot of time logic goes out the door. So with a seller's agent and a buyer's agent, when you tell the buyer, hey, I don't like this, I don't like the carpet, I don't like the china closet, I don't like these old cabinets, okay, your selling agent can then go to the seller's agent and be like, hey, well, this is outdated, and this is outdated. Saying something is outdated sounds a lot better than saying, I don't like that ugly grandma couch, or I don't like that funky carpet. It stinks too. Okay, just saying it's outdated is a little bit better, and then plus the agent is going to know. Okay, he'll be able to ask the seller's agents different questions that you may not know to ask. That's a big thing. That's a huge thing. That seller's agent or that buyer's agent will know questions to ask that you may not know. Why? Because you don't do this every day. You don't do this every day. So a buyer's agent can ask, hey, when's the last time the roof was checked? Does it have a guarantee on it? Where's the guarantee? When's the last time that when's the last time this place had a water leak? Okay? So there's different things that an agent will be able to ask that you may not think of. That's why, again, it behooves you to have a buyer's agent. Agents have ready access to other agents' listings. We talked about that. Agents can quickly arrange property viewing, saving you time. Because if you wanted to see a home right now, just say you're driving and there's a home that you go past and you want to see that property. How do you get the keys? And again, real estate is super local. So in Philadelphia, we as agents have an app. So if you want to see that property, now what's going to happen? You really can't go see it by yourself. You need an agent unless it's an open house. So you may have to wait for the open house. But if you have an agent, you can call them. Y'all can be in there in 5 minutes. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, I got all these apps. I can just go on Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Realtor.com. Here's the thing about those apps. They're really marketing apps. That's what they really are. What do I mean by that? If you want to see 123 Main Street and you go into Zillow and pick, I want to see that property, they're selling that to a real estate agent. They're selling that lead to a real estate agent. So a real estate agent is going to call you, and a real estate agent is going to let you in. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the negotiating skills. Okay, how agents keep transactions dispassionate and rational. Okay, you definitely want to do that. Because you don't want to get all emotionally wound up. I can't tell you how many times in a transaction, buyers or sellers, they're just ready to walk. Why? Because of emotion. But you know this is something that happens all the time. For example, inspections. I'm in Philadelphia. If you Unless it's a new build, and of course there's not a lot of new builds in Philadelphia because it's one of the oldest city, if not one of the oldest cities in America. So there's a lot of renovated homes. So if you have a renovated home in Philadelphia and you get an inspection, there are going to be a number of things that are wrong with the home. Why? Because it's in an old city and most of these homes are from the turn of the century. So going into that, I'm aware to tell my buyer, hey, listen, this inspection is like a buffet. If you eat everything, you're going to get sick. What we're really looking for is we're looking for the major things. What are the major things? Yes, Tony, I'm a real estate agent. Yes. Um, what are the major things? Is the roof leaking? Or does the heat work? Does the air work? Are there any leaks? So these are the things that we're looking for. We're not looking for every little thing because if that's the case, you would never buy a home. But you got to prepare people for that. Okay? Agents have experience and they keep the emotions out of the deal. So making it what? Trying to make it a give and take. It's not all about the seller and it's not all about the buyer. At the end of the day, the seller wants to sell their house and the buyer wants to buy a house. Okay? So it's not going to be 100%, 0%. It's not going to be 0%, 100%. There's going to be have to there's going to there needs to be some give and take. So as a real estate agent, you know that and you're able to coach your client on that. Because let me give you a scenario, and I heard this a long time ago and it made a lot of sense. If you buy a home right now and even it's like, oh, well, I overpaid for it. It's an investment. So if the market goes up, just say that you paid an extra $5,000. But if the market goes up and you make an extra $50,000, it's a wash. It's a wash. Okay. Also, agents have negotiation strategies that get you the best terms. Okay. What's one of my negotiation strategies? One of my strategies is that if my buyer likes this home, I'm giving the seller agent a call and it's kind of like, hey, do you have offers? That's the first thing I'm asking them is do they have any offers on the table? Why? Because I know if they have offers, we have to come, we have to put our best foot forward. We have to put our best foot forward if they have offers. If they don't have offers, then I know what? I know that okay, we got some room. And even if my buyer can afford, for example, $400,000, we may come in asking for some seller's assist. Why? Because the seller doesn't have any offers right now. So since they don't have any offers, we have some room. But if you're not, and you may listen to that and you be like, okay, well that makes sense. I mean, duh, that's trivial. Yeah, it is. But if you don't do this every day, this might not be the first thing that comes to your mind. You may say, okay, well, I'm looking at the listing price. That's just what they want. Or you may say, oh, well, let's come in under. Let me come in under what they're looking for. Now, I know being in the market, for example, in the county like Upper Darby or Delaware County, if it's the first couple of days on the market, you gotta come in at full price. You because why? Because it's going to be swept up. If not in the first couple of days, in 2 or 3 days, by day 7, it's probably going to be swept up. But I know that because I'm in the market. Okay. Also, agents understand market trends and not and use this knowledge to advocate for their buyer. Like I was just talking about, market trends in Delaware County is a lot more competitive than Philadelphia. So Philadelphia, you may have some time, but in Upper Darby, if you see a home, you better get on it because if you see it in the morning, it's probably going to be under contract during the nighttime. Okay. And also they can recognize and counterattack tactics used by other parties to ensure their clients' interest is always protected. And again, I'm talking about being on the buyer side, but if I'm on the seller side and somebody calls me and they're like, hey, do you have any offers? Okay, now I can answer them in a way where I'm not lying. Okay, but hey, there's a bunch of interest. I got a bunch of interest. So now they don't know, okay, does he have any offers or he doesn't have any offers? Okay. But again, if you're not a real estate agent, then you may not be tactful in these type of negotiations. Why? Because you don't do it every day. Let's keep it pushing. All right, expertise, contractual expertise. And this is very important, okay? Real estate contracts are complex in detail. They definitely are. In Philadelphia, all of our contracts are written up by lawyers. So there are just fill in the blanks, but you got to know what to fill in the blank and when to fill it in. And so it has to be accurate. You need accurate documentation. That's essential to avoid legal issues. You want to avoid legal issues. For example, usually during the process, there's a due diligence period. So there's a due diligence period where you put your earnest money deposit down, and then that due diligence period is a time where you can back out because of something that you've seen on the home inspection. Now, usually, not all the time, but usually it's around like 10 days. So if you don't know that, and let's just say that you put two on there, if you put two on there in the blank, if you put two on there, then that means that you're only giving yourself 2 days for your due diligence. If you leave it blank in the Pennsylvania agreement of sale, you get 10 days. So let's just say that you leave it blank. If you leave it blank, and let's just say, okay, you're going ahead about your business, and that inspector is like, hey, I can't be out there for 2 weeks. That's 14 days. So if you don't know that, and you get the inspection on that, let's just say 12th day, and you get the report back on day 13, you're already out that due diligence period. So now you go back and it's like, hey, I want to back out this contract because the roof is messed up. Well, now that seller can try to keep your earnest money deposit. Why? Because your due diligence was only 10 days. But if you don't know that, then you're still stuck because you wrote your name on the dotted line. Okay, so you want to agent ensures all the paperwork is correctly filled out and submitted to the proper parties. So now that you know where the paperwork is, now it has to be submitted to the proper parties. Some of the paperwork has to be given to the lender. Some of the paperwork has to be given to the title company. Okay. Cost effectiveness. Now this is important. This is important, okay? This is super duper important. Why? Because the real estate agent industry is going through a change here. It's going through a big change. Probably the biggest change in our lifetime is what the real estate agent industry is going through. Right now, what's happening, I'm gonna slow walk this, okay? Right now, what's happening is that the Department of Justice, they want the buyer to pay for the buyer's agent. Okay. Now thinking about that might sound logical. It may sound logical, but let's step it back. How does the system work right now? And for all intents and purposes, the system works fine right now. Okay. But how does the system work now? How the system works now, how the system works now is that the seller wants to sell their home. So they enlist the help of a seller's agent. So the seller agent goes to the seller and say, "Okay, I'll sell your home, but I need a commission. I got to get paid." The seller said, "Okay, that makes sense. How much?" So the seller's agent can say anything. The seller's agent can say, "Hey, I work for free." That usually doesn't happen, but he can say that. The seller's agent can say 1%. The sales agent can say 0.5%. The sales agent can say 4%. The sales agent can say 6%. Okay? So in our example, let's just say that the sales agent says, okay, I'll do this for 6%. So they agree. So now what happens is that they depart. And the seller's agent, he goes out to the market and says, hey, buyer's agent, if you have a buyer, bust this 6% down with you. So I'll give you 3%. So now the buyer's agent says, okay, that house, I know that house is paying 3%. So buyer and seller, I know what I'm getting paid already. And that works. And that works. So now what the district justice, I keep saying that, the Department of Justice, what they're coming to do, they're saying, no, 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 no. You're forcing the seller to pay for the buyer agent's commission, which is not the case. But our representation either did a bad job in breaking that thought pattern up, or they didn't do a good enough job in convincing the courts, hey, the way the system right now is set up, it works. So what do they want to happen? The Department of Justice, that 3% that I had talked about that the seller's agent is willing to share with the buyer's agent, what the Department of Justice wants is they want the buyer to pay that 3%. So now they're trying to throw that on top of the closing costs. Now, and I don't want to go on too much of a rant here, but of course, who does that hurt? That hurts middle to low income individuals, because a lot of times middle to lower income individuals have a hard time getting the closing price now. So now to put that on top of them, it's going to bury a lot of people. It's going to bury a whole lot of people. Anyway, this is happening, or this is going to come due as of right now in the middle of August. What does that mean? That means if you're in a market to buy a home, you need to buy ASAP, as soon as possible. So if you're out there and you're looking to buy a home, or you're just getting ready to buy a home, contact me. Contact me so we can get out there, because we need to find a home immediately. Because come August, it's going to be a lot more expensive. It's going to be a lot more expensive to buy a home come middle August. So that's why you want to get a home now. And a lot of first time home buyers, what they do is they're looking for the perfect home right out the chute. Don't do that. What you want to do is you want to look at this home as a stepping stone. So you can get in there, you can get from paying somebody else's rent and paying your own rent, so that you can take a part in the equity growth. So in 4 or 5 years, when the equity grows, what you can do is sell that home, then take that money and then get your dream home. Okay. So again, real estate agents often have access to deals and resources that do-it-yourself buyers don't. Okay, agents can help you avoid costly mistakes that inexperienced buyers might make. So because you don't do this every day, you can avoid the landmines that are in this home buying process. Okay, and as of right now, the agent commission are typically paid by the seller, not the buyer. But again, come middle of August, if everything stays the same, that's going to change. That is going to change. Okay. So, how do you pick the best agent? Number one, if you're in the Philadelphia market, or if you're in the surrounding counties, hey man, contact me 267-930-1249. Call me, go to sellwithkhalid.com. Okay, and again, if you're looking at this on Instagram, or you're looking at this on Facebook, contact book or comment book in the comments, and I will definitely send you my guide to how to buy a home. But if you're not in those areas, still reach out to me, and I'm sure that I have somebody in your area. But you're looking for somebody that has knowledge. Good agents have expertise in their market. Okay, they know the neighborhoods, the prices, the trends, and they can help you make an informed decision. And that's how I do with my clients. Is I act as a trusted advisor. I act as a trusted advisor, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to live in that home. So whether I'm comfortable with the neighborhood doesn't matter. Are you comfortable with the neighborhood? So as a trusted advisor, I'm going to make sure that you pay a fair price. I'm going to make sure that the contract or the process goes as smooth as possible. But you want to find an agent that's knowledgeable. So that's why your cousin's nephew's girlfriend, babysitter that just got their license last week, might not be the best person for the biggest financial transaction of your life. You also want a person or agent that's experienced. Experienced agents have handled many transactions and they can navigate the challenges and provide valuable advice throughout the buying process. Why? Because they hit their head a bunch of times over here, over here, over here, over here. You want somebody with knowledge, you want somebody with experience. And what ties all that together is you need somebody that cares. You need somebody that cares. The best agents generally care about your needs, okay? They listen, understand your goals, and work to help you find the perfect home or that perfect next step home. But you need to find somebody that cares because somebody can have all of this knowledge, but they may not apply it to you because they don't care or they're too busy. So these are the things that you want to look for in an agent. All right. So now, it's been about a half an hour, probably 45 minutes. Does anybody have any questions? If nobody has any questions, we'll definitely get off. But I'm going to see if anybody has any questions real fast. Got one comment over here. Negotiation is so key. That's why it's important to work with a strong real estate agent, right? And that's Chad Hammonds, our neighborhood lender. Okay. Have a fabulous day. Appreciate you. Okay. All right. Nobody has any questions. Again, if you're on Facebook or if you're on Instagram and you want my complete guide to buying a home, comment book. Comment book in the comments. Okay. And I'll send that right out to y'all. All right, y'all. This is Khalid Nathan Aleem, the real estate boy. If you're looking to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate, I got you. All right, y'all. Take care.